Jessica with us today. I have to say this first. She was on one of my little dream speaker lists. And so I know that it was meant for her to be here because it just all came together. Turns out we have a mutual friend. And so I'm so honored to be able to interview her. She is a boss babe. She's a wife. She's a mom. She's a keynote speaker. She's an author. She wrote a book. She's an executive director for her Love for Lewiston Foundation. And she just brings joy wherever she goes, even in the middle of the hardest things. She finds a way to bring joy. So Jessica, I'm so honored that you're here today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for thinking of me and asking me to show up. This is such a privilege to be here.
Yay. So why don't we just get into it? I did read your book. I've read it in a day, which is amazing because I don't read a lot, but I think That's
my favorite feedback. Like when you're a non-reader and you're like, I read the book in less than 24 hours because it's an easy read and it's quick to get through. Yeah.
It totally was. Even with my kids around, I managed to read too. I don't know if that makes me a bad mom, but I loved it. And I could connect with all of your little romance journeys. So if you guys haven't read it, go get it. But let's go back to Jessica as a young girl. What were some of the things that you were like, I just want to be this when I get older, or some of the things that you were interested in?
When I was a little girl growing up, I wanted to be an actress or like an actor, be in Hollywood, be on movies. I wanted to be a cruise ship director. I wanted to have my own restaurant. And then I wanted to just be like the CEO of a company and just be the one in charge. So I feel like I went through a myriad of like different seasons. And even now I'm like, I would be a bomb cruise director. I'd be the funnest cruise director that like Princess Cruise Ships has ever seen. And now here I am. I think a lot of like when I look back at growing up, like what I do now, influencer Instagram stuff, like that wasn't even talked about or even really a job or a career. And it's just crazy how life has evolved and how anyone can do anything now with the World Wide Web. It's just made everything accessible.
Yeah, you're so right. And just gives different opportunities to do some of the things that you want to do but couldn't do. Now you have a platform too. So you had all these ideas of what you wanted to be with as a kid, but who were some of the people that really impacted your life when you were younger?
My parents, for sure. I grew up on a farm just outside of Winnipeg in a small town, and not even really in this small town because it was a farm. So we had a neighbor a half a mile from us and another neighbor a mile from us. I ended up dating their son for a little bit, and he was like my first love and this incredible guy. But it was for sure my parents pouring into my life because we had this tight-knit family. We play together, work together, live together. And my parents always, taught me that anything was possible and that belief. And then I had an opportunity, I think all throughout myself growing up, I've had just these incredible mentors. When I was a little girl, the camp counselors poured into me. And then when I moved here to Calgary, I got connected with Center Street Church. And one of the things that I got connected with was this leadership program. And one of the heads of the kind of program kind of took me underneath his wing. His name was Roger Lang. He's this insane, successful business guy who travels all over the world consulting like some of the world's largest companies. But I think he just saw like a diamond in the rough type thing, like where he was like, oh, if I could just give this girl some guidance. And like I said, he's beyond brilliant, but some of the words that he spoke into my life were so simple yet so impactful. And I think almost having another male figure, someone in business, start to pour into me in a different way made such a difference. And then I've just had incredible relationships, specifically with a ton of females. I have a really incredible group of women that I get to run with, and some of those friendships. My longest friendship, her name's Laura. We've been friends since preschool. We're exact opposites. We have nothing in common. I would still call her my best friend to this day. And not that we're besties that are like this, but we just both believe in what each other are doing, and just really, I think, understanding how powerful relationships can be and how they pour into you. And she just let me be me. She never tried to mold me into what she wanted me to be. And I think I just had some really incredible friendships that way that have really helped shape who I am today.
That's amazing. And I love that you equally had strong men that poured into your life and women, and that you had the balance of both. And even when you talk about business. So do you feel like, you said when you were young, you wanted to be a CEO, and then you had your mentor, but did he spark some more business things inside of you? Did he help you get onto that path of business, or how did you go from there?
And I think also just going back to one of, the other questions too about who poured into your life. I had this incredible mentor when I was at this company. I was there for almost 6 years as their director of operations. I started off, I worked my way up. I literally, if there wasn't a position, I made them start a position. I would be like, I'm going to be this for the company because we need it. And I'm going to be the one to do it. And I had this incredible female leader. And I think just seeing what she was capable of at the top. And now, I love that you said it, I feel fortunate that I've had both men and women. I wouldn't say that my business mentor necessarily was the one that made me want to start a business. But what I discovered was when I saw there was gaps in the marketplace for opportunities, but also because I hated the environment I worked in. I think often we hear, especially in Calgary, lots of people have the golden handcuffs and they're making this incredible salary. They have these incredible benefits, but they hate their job. They hate their life. And I've had that incredible salary, incredible benefits, like the vacation and all this. But I hated going to this downtown office job. And that's what I dreamed of. I had dreamed of wearing high heels. I had dreamed of shopping at Whole Renfrew. I had dreamed of traveling. I had dreamed of this company where it was you could go anywhere. You could request to go work in the US or pick a country and they probably had an office there. But I hated it so much and it caused such dissatisfaction in me. That's where I was like, I want to change that. And now as I'm starting to grow roles into my own company, I just see the impact that I can have on other females and other team members, on who we bring on board, on how we treat customers. And it's so cool that I get to define that.
I love that. And I love that you touched on that, because this whole idea of having a personal brand is really about knowing who you are. But I think that there's a lot of people watching that probably are in jobs that they hate. And although they look so good from the outside, like you said, they're just not fulfilling. And so how did you get from that place of, I don't like this, into then having your own business? How did you take that leap?
I did it the stupidest way possible. So I would say, do as I say, not as I do. I think is the expression. I was at this corporate job selling software for one of the largest software companies in the world. I saw this potential. They gave me the worst territory, the worst accounts. These accounts literally that I was trying to sell software into, literally they had flipped the account the bird. So basically told the customer to F off. And then they wanted me to go in and sell $5 million worth of software into it. I was I'm spending the next year just repairing a broken relationship. And so it was horrible. And you'd have your Monday sales meeting. It was like a gun to your head. It was like, how much software have you sold? And you literally would have heart palpitations because it was never good enough. And the market was really good. Oil and gas was booming. I had some incredible opportunities, made some cool inroads, but I was so unhappy because I didn't feel valued. I didn't feel worthy, and I didn't feel accepted. And I didn't feel like I could be authentically me. I felt like I was trying to fit this mold of who the company wanted me to be, of who my boss wanted me to be. And I had gone on, my boss right before I left accused me of all these horrible things, that I lacked integrity, I was rude to the team, a whole bunch of stuff, complete lies. That irked me to my core. I'd ended up going on this vacation. It had been booked when I got hired on with the company. I was gone for 4 weeks on this massive family trip with my husband and all of his family. It was so fun. And I got back and it was on August long weekend, and I went in on Monday to go and get caught up. And I was reading these emails. I'm there on the holiday Monday. It's in the dead of summer. No one's downtown. I'm slaving away. And I'm it's never going to be good enough. I'm I hate my life. And I looked at my calendar and I was I turned 30 in 4 days, and I'll be damned if this is how I'm going to continue living my life. I'll be damned. Because it felt too short to me. I was I hate it. I feel sick going into work. I stay late because that's what's expected, but I don't even want to be here. So the next morning I woke up, I got to the office early at 7:15, 7:30, typed up my resignation, Googled, what do you need to include in a resignation letter? Put that down. And then my direct report, his name was Dean. He was phenomenal. I was Dean, I got to go. I hate it here. And he's I totally get it. The guy at the top just hated me. I handed him the letter and he wished me good luck. And I walked out, and then I was holy shit, what did I do? I was just we were living paycheck to paycheck. We had just been in Europe for a month, overspent money, literally credit cards maxed out, couldn't even afford to eat our last meal in Europe. And I quit the 6-figure job that I'm living paycheck to paycheck with no apparent plan in place, none. So not like I'm going to start said business. Like I just was like, I've always wanted to consult small businesses. So I'm going to start consulting small businesses. And then a week later, because it's acting so crazy, we find out we're pregnant with our first child. It honestly, do not do as I do because it was stupid. But here's the thing, God is good. And I think one of the things that I'm most amazing at is always figuring out, finding a way, being resilient, rising up. And so long story short, I consulted 2 or 3 companies in their businesses. One took me on as an employee so I could qualify for mat leave. So I actually had a mat leave. It was such a blessing. Worked until I was ready to pop. And then obviously I have my daughter, I get pregnant immediately after my son. Apparently the pullout method is not your birth control plan of choice for our family, does not work. And I have my son gets terminally ill. We go through that whole journey. And that's now totally shaped and woken me up to a whole new level where I think I was pretty tuned into being present and fully alive, and life is short. But we lost our son when he was just shy of 6 months old to a rare disease. And now I'm like, F it all. I wanted to write the book. I'm writing the book. I want to speak. I'm going to be a speaker. And again, I don't have this perfect plan with stage 1, stage 2. Lots of people are like, I've saved up 9 years of income so that if my business doesn't take off, like people are smart. And I'm just like, throw caution to the wind and God is good. And then I hopefully figure it out. And I'm still upright. It's been hard. It's super hard being a small business owner, as I know, and it's like never done, but it's been so cool to just watch the doors open and to have the fearlessness to just say, I'm going to walk through this door and make it happen one way or another.
I love that. And you really do have such a powerful personal brand. And I know that came from those hard moments, those challenging moments, the weakness. And out of that, you've allowed strength and joy to come. And I think that's something that the whole reason I'm doing this is so people can get a hold of the things that maybe don't seem like they're the best or they went the right way. Those are usually the things that launch you into where you need to be. And so one thing that I loved, actually my coworker is the one who gave me your book. Yeah. And after I read it, she just knew that I would relate to some of the things. And so one thing that really touched me is just the nudges. And I just want to I feel like, can I just pull an Oprah moment for 1 second?
Pull it. I'm here for it. I'm not going anywhere. So
I feel like this is what she would do. But this is like the very beginning of the book. But I just want to speak on this. And so I just wanted to read this because I loved it. And it just says, have you ever been going about your business and out of nowhere, you feel a nudge deep inside of you? It tugs at you, stirs your heart, and aches your belly. That's the same thing that comes up in your head over and over again. The nudge could be anything from suddenly wanting to rearrange all the furniture in your bedroom to texting your husband to tell him you love him and you think he's really hot. Or the nudge could be to go back to school and get that degree that you've always wanted, or to move across the country without really knowing what you're going to do once you get there. Or the nudge could be to start a business, the podcast, the YouTube channel. And her book is just all about her nudges. And so I think that learning that is the key to everything. And so I would love for you to share your heart on that and your perspective about those nudges.
Yeah. I think I've had these nudges all along, but I think the moment that I really started tuning into them or was, whoa, like this is powerful shit. But you've had these nudges like, oh, I should go do said thing. And like small stuff, we've all done it where it's, I'm going to buy the person behind me in Starbucks their coffee, like whatever. I call that a nudge because you just never know how that's going to how that can change or impact somebody's day. But it was when I met my husband, we worked together, we're coworkers, couldn't stand each other, never had gone for a beer, never had hung out, like just nothing. We were just like coworkers that existed and coexisted at the office. We had similar territories and similar roles. And we were there late. It was a Tuesday night. We actually looked up the date a while ago. It was a Tuesday night. And I felt this incredible nudge to ask him if he was okay, because he had never stayed at the office late. He had never worked late. He was like this 9-to-5 guy. He was usually mysteriously missing by 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And you're just, okay, whatever. And I was always at the office late. I was single. I was like all focused on career. I was like, I'm going to become a CEO. So I'd work every night late. I had nothing else to do. And I had this nudge to ask him if he was okay. Just the simple words, are you okay? And so I had this like little alcove and I had a rolly chair. So I like rolled out, kind of poked my head out and I was like, hey, are you okay? This awkward kind of reach around the corner. And when I asked him if he was okay, he opened up, which he had never done. We had like maybe spoken 5 business words to each other and was like, hey, actually, I'm not okay. And goes into this story and I'm like, oh man, that's so brutal. So he has this drug overdose. He's with his girlfriend on Valentine's, hanging out with the wrong people, blah, blah, blah. He tells me some BS story. To this day, he's told me the truth, but I'm sure there's parts of it that he hasn't even shared because it was so horrible. The next time I got a nudge, God was in that same conversation, was ask him to go to church. I was like, okay. I was like, hey, yeah, like super casual because he's like the hot guy in the office that like I've obviously he's hot. So I had a little crush on him. I was like, hey, yeah, if you, I don't know, ever wanted to come to church, like it helps me in my life. And most times when you invite people to church, they say no. So you're just like, okay, like whatever. And he was like, oh yeah. And the next nudge was so loud and precise that I can't shake it to this day. It was like this booming, ask him to the Good Friday service, like this massive, manly, masculine voice. I was like, I'm not asking him to church twice in one weekend. Like, hells to the no. Like, this guy's going to think I'm whacked. And I was like, I just heard it again. He's like, do it, ask it now. Like, almost so scary. So I was like, fine, I'll ask him. So I asked him, I said, do you want to come to church with me on Friday? I go twice. You go twice in one weekend? And in my head, see there, I knew it, God. I knew I shouldn't have invited him twice. Now he's never going to come. I'm like, you should have trusted me, God. Like I have this ultimate plan. And the next thing out of his mouth, I said, I'm like, yeah, like this is Easter. It's like the most pivotal time in Christians' lives. I said, Jesus dies on the cross, into the tomb, goes back to heaven. It's like this whole, like our whole faith is based around this grace, like unmerited, undeserving favor. God sends his only son to save the world. So I was like, yeah, I go twice, Good Friday. Anyways, and he's, yeah, I'll be there. And I was so shocked. I didn't know what to do. And my story now is that happened in 2010. A conversation in March that then has led to the most incredible life partner, to 3 incredible kids, to living in a dream home, to having these full, hilarious, abundant memories, and nobody else I would rather journey and do life with than him. And that's where like the aha moment, and our relationship just didn't take off. It wasn't just like, for me, I fell in love and I fell hard and fast. For him, he was working through drug addiction, alcohol addiction. He was on anti-anxiety, anti-depression. He was suicidal. Like there's so much behind him, behind all of that. But what I saw was the power. And like when you have a nudge, for me, I believe it's the Holy Spirit. For me, it's usually audible too. Like it's a tug on the heart. And then it's like a clear, go say this to this person, go buy this person said thing, go give this money to there. And sometimes I'm like, damn it, God, I do not want to give this person money because I don't even have money in my own bank account. So give the $1,000. And you're like, what? Like I have a mortgage to pay. And every time that I've responded, every time it's do this design, send this email, open up this door, it's been insane. And I started the book originally as a love story about how me and my husband came to be. And nowhere, when I started writing, I had no idea that we would have a son that would grab a terminal diagnosis from a disease that I was familiar with, that the rest of the world has no flipping clue about. We share about our son's diagnosis and the loss and what we have to go through. But I've seen the biggest blessings when I followed through on the nudges. And usually it's scary and it's uncomfortable and it's in territory that you haven't walked before. But out of that, man, oh man, have I seen it be so powerful. And I'm like, we do have those nudges. Like you have these great ideas, but we're scared because we don't know what it looks like next, because we haven't charted this new territory, this new course. And I have it tattooed on my arm. You can't see it very well, but it says, run towards the roar. It's a book by Levi Lesko. And just to close the loop on these nudges, he writes this book, and one of the chapters, his daughter dies, which is why I had written the book. And he writes this chapter and he said, he talks about the way lions hunt. And he said, most people die at 25, but aren't buried till 85, because we stop living our lives because we're so consumed or worried with what everybody's thinking about. And what he says is, when we run towards the roar, being the scary things in life, the things that we're unsure of, it's an analogy on how lions hunt. But he says, when we run towards that, I guarantee you that when you break through that barrier, all of those moments will be the moments on your highlight reel. those moments will be what you remember, what people talk about at your funeral. And so those moments are those nudges, and they're usually scary and hard. But every time I respond, every time I show up, even when I get knocked back down, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I was meant to go do that thing.
Oh, I love that. And I totally can relate with that. And if you're listening and you feel like you're like, I don't know if I have those, you do. And like Jessica said, you often are just too afraid. And so I would challenge you to start listening. I think it goes back to being in a job that you're completely losing who you are in. When you feel those nudges to step away, even though you don't know how it's all gonna look or what's on the other side of that, trust those things. And I think that's exactly what Jessica was saying. That's where the greatest experiences come in your life and the greatest growth comes in your life.
Yeah.
Because when you don't take those steps, you don't grow. You become stagnant, and that's not a life worth living. So Jessica, I love that. Thank you so much. And if you guys were listening to that and you're like, oh, I want to hear more, oh, get her book. Get it. It's amazing.
Amazon, Indigo, Audible. On our website, like name a spot. There's a ton of local retailers here in Calgary that carry it, but the easiest is Amazon, because I think almost all of us have Amazon Prime, where it's like click next day delivery. So yeah,
they'll come right to your door. And if it's Audible, you can get it right immediately to your Kindle.
Exactly. And I'm the one that reads the Audible. So if you like an audio book, I'm the one that reads it. So I get pretty fired up in it.
You have a great voice. So
oh, thank you.
I bet you when you say Hot Ronnie, it sounds really great in your book.
I think so. He loves it. And as his head is like this big now, but yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you if they're looking to connect with you?
We just launched a new website, which is so exciting, and there's still tons more work to be done. As a small business owner, it's never done. And just as you think that you finished something, there's usually another thing that comes up. But our website, my website is just jessicajanzen.ca. That will link to our apparel page. It'll link to our foundation, the work that we do for our charity, our nonprofit. And then my favorite kind of social spot to hang out on is Instagram. It's the easiest. I'm in the DMs, I'm posting lots, and then I share a lot of my journey as an entrepreneur, as a mom, and just everyday living. And lots of people check me out there. It's just Jessica Janzen on the old Instagram.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So go find her. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Naomi.